Welcome back, students. In this video, we're going to cover Lesson 5-2, Congruent Triangles. Got 3 benchmarks below the title, GR 1.3, GR 1.6, and GR 2.6. So looking at the, so we'll just get into the vocabulary here. So in 2 congruent polygons, all parts of one polygon are congruent to the corresponding parts or matching parts, those are angles and sides, of the other polygon. So keep in mind a polygon is 3 or more sides, so that includes triangles and up. 2 triangles are congruent if and only if their corresponding parts are congruent. All right, we got a little note down here that says corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Or CPCTC, and that's something you're going to hear me say the rest of the year. It's a very common reason in proofs. They love to give you just enough to prove the triangle's congruent, or once you prove it's congruent, they throw something else at you, and the answer is simply CPCTC, or congruent parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Corresponding parts, of congruent triangles are congruent. Excuse me. All right, so next theorem over here, we've got the third angles theorem. So this kind of goes in with this. So if 2 angles of one triangle are congruent to 2 angles of a second triangle, so over here, you see that C and K are congruent because they have one mark. I like to make the different colors. I can't, the computer screen, it all looks the same. I'm looking at it beside me and it's green and blue, but on the screen it looks weird. But notice B and J, so they have 2. So if the 2 angles on each are congruent, the third has to be congruent. So A and L would be congruent to each other. We would actually, let's see, hang on. Pick up the pencil. You just mark it like this with the third. But mathematically, so if a triangle is 180 degrees, if 2 out of 3 are the same, let's just say that C and K are 50 and J and B are 60. All right, so 50 plus 60 is 110. 180 minus 110 is 70, so that would make A 70. Well, it has to make L 70 as well, because that makes 180. All right. Example 2. In the diagram, triangle RSV is congruent to triangle TVS. So see STVS. That's because these triangles, they're butted up against each other with the base, but one is facing up and one's facing down. So this guy's a 90-degree angle. This guy is a 90-degree angle. It says that this angle on this side is 78. Well, this guy's going to be 78. Because it tells us that they are congruent, that the triangles are congruent. So because of CPCTC, we can go ahead and mark this stuff before we even look over here. It also helps with marking corresponding sides and angles, which is the next thing it's going to ask us to do. So angle T is out here. It corresponds with R, so it's X degrees. This one's X degrees. Something to point out. I put this on the board, but for the sake of the video, so R and T, those are your first 2 letters. Those are corresponding. S and V, and then V and S. And of course, that's because this is the same thing. It's just, it faces this RSV and TVS. Because it's flipped over. So let's see. So RS, see how that's the first 2 letters? So TV. So those are corresponding sides. I showed you the corresponding angles. So we have 78, 90, we know the total is 180. So to find x, well, actually, let's get back over here. Back up, Mr. Math Teacher. Part A, list the corresponding sides and angles. So we're going to do that over here, actually, because we're going to do B here and C here. All right, so our corresponding stuff here, we've got, like I showed you, so RS is congruent to TV. That means TS, I'm trying to draw pi. Goodness. And that's going to be RV. Okay, and then VS and SV. So this is like reflexive, but it's also, is it like symmetric? Because VS, SV. But those are congruent because reflexive, though. All right, so angles. You've got angle RST. It's going to be congruent to angle TVS because they're both 90-degree angles. And then you've got angle RVS congruent to angle TSV. So they're both 78. So that means that angle, we can either go either way, but we'll go VTS on this side. And then, so VTS on this side. So we'll say SRV on the other side because we're going from the 90 degree, the X, the 78. So it's the 90 degree, the X, the 78. Taking the same path. So SRV. All right, so there's all that. Now, so part B, solve for X. Part C, solve for Y. So let's start with B. B, we're going to find X. All right, so X is in here with this triangle. We have two of the angles. We need the third. So for X, it's going to be 180 minus 90, which is 90. So we're taking out that angle. Now we have 90 minus 78. That leaves what X is. And so X is going to be 12 degrees. All right. So now part C. And we want to find Y. All right, so Y is up here. These two sides are congruent, so we just put them equal to each other. Because, see, RS and TV. Where's it at? RS and TV. First one we wrote. So we got 2Y minus 1 equals 24. Because those two sides are congruent. Just making sure everybody's following. All right, so we want Y by itself. We're going to go plus 1 on both sides. These cancel. 2Y comes down equals 24 plus 1 is 25. Now we're going to divide both sides by 2 because we want, again, Y by itself. So 25 divided by 2 makes Y 12.5. Okay, so that's what they asked for, X and Y, and then, of course, the corresponding sides and angles, and we gave them all that. Part B. So you're going to do the same thing now. So we have triangle ABC and ECD. I'm going to help you out with a couple of things here. So number one, here's your 90 degree. They help you with that. Little hint, and this is for those listening. So if you're just watching for notes, you're just going to be, fast forwarding, or, you're probably listening to your headphones. So angle C, see, it belongs to both triangles. One side of that one side shows Y degrees. Those both are vertical angles, so they are congruent. So the bottom is Y, the top is Y. So that's how you're going to find Y, is to subtract your 90 degree angle and your, I will say, so these are corresponding because B was in the middle, D is in the middle. So that means this guy is 36.87 degrees. But it tells us they're congruent. And because of CPCTC, I'm going to run that one in the ground. we know these corresponding parts. And then, so they want, list one, they want one pair of course, one of the corresponding sides, one of the corresponding angles. Now, part B, they want to find X or Y. No. We want to find X and Y. So on one side, yeah, over here, give me your part A. Over here, your part B. So here, you're going to have X equals, and then over here, Y equals. And split these down. So your corresponding parts, see 90 and 36.87, 90, 36.87. So these two are your corresponding parts. So there's how you find your X. You see how to find your Y. And good luck to you. So now we're going to go down to example 3 at the bottom. All right, so it's saying, is ABC congruent to XYZ? If so, justify your answer using rigid transformations. So ABC is facing this way, XYZ is facing the other way. So we're going to, and these are tough. I'll just be honest, these are tough. So we're going to write our coordinates in the middle. So we're going to say A, that's it, -4, 5. If you need help on graphing these, I can help you. I'll do B. But let me know. Send me a private message, on Focus, or you can chat directly to me at Teams, or just come talk to me at my desk. But if you need help graphing, please let me know. But here's your 0, 0. So we're going to go to B. So left is negative. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. We get where we're lined up with it. And then we go up. Up is positive, so +1. All right, then C is -2, -1, because it was left and down. All right. Now, again, if you're listening, not just taking the notes, I'll tell you, as I told you guys in class, this is tough. I couldn't figure out myself. I asked AI to help me. AI said these two weren't congruent. So I looked and called myself checking it, and I thought it wasn't. Talked to the other algebra teachers. No, it's congruent, and there are definitely two movements that get from here to here. And I'm going to show you. So notice again, A and X correspond, B and Y, C and Z. But so this thing is flipped. Now, if we flip this way, it's going to be, the arrow is going to face that way. If we flip down, see, it's pointing downward. It'll point upward, kind of like this guy. So let's use the coordinate rules. Hold on, this pen not work. Coordinate rules for reflecting in the x-axis, and that's x comma y. You keep the same x, but you take the negative y because you're flipping from the bottom to the top, or top to the bottom of the page. So using this rule up here, A is going to move to -4, -5, because -4 was x, x stayed the same. 5 was my y, y became negative, so we changed it. Okay, B, -5, x stays the same. Oops, if I could write better. And +1, y becomes negative, so -1. And then finally C, -2 is x, x stays the same. -1 is y, y becomes negative, or the opposite. So because it was negative, it's now going to be positive. So I'm going to pause the video just a second to graph this, and I'm also going to graph this guy over here so we can see, because now we'll start scooting it over. So give me just a moment. Okay. So this is where we're trying to end up. So I graphed this the same color. So this is where we're trying to go, and circled this with this brown. So this is where we're at after we reflect in the x-axis. So we go from here, and again, it was pointing down. Now it's pointing up. Let's see, so they're both pointing the same way. So let's count in between the points, and let's see what we get. So we're going to go over, because remember, we're left to right first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we got to line up with that. 5. I know it goes over, but that's my drawing, not the math. So this was 5. I'm just going to write 5 down here. And then we're going to go up 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to write 3 over here. So let's go from this point. I'll try to make sure you can see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on. I can't see. I think it's -2, +1. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. What am I doing wrong? It should be 5. It worked earlier. Let's try the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, 5. And then 1, 2, 3. So again, 3. So what's the middle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this should be here, not there. I went over on my point. So told you got to watch me. So it goes from here to there. So not quite as big. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5. And then 1, 2, 3. 3. So now you can see. So justify, are they congruent? Yes. And it's because, so we had a reflection in the x-axis, then translation, +5, +3, because so we reflected from here to here, and then we went over 5, up 3, over 5, up 3. All right, flipping over. And for those of you in first block, yes, I told you wrong. All right, example 3, check. So, just going to help you out a little bit here. I will tell you there's 2 ways to get the answer. One is one of these guys. I will tell you it's not that, because they are congruent. So this is not true. Now, so this is where we are. And this is where we're going. So notice not only, well, so L and M, it's P and Q. So it's facing that way, then it goes this way. So looks like there's definitely some sort of rotation, and that's a couple of your options over here. There's 2 movements. Just notice how this thing is orientated. Think about if it rotates, what it looks like. Think about if it reflects. If it reflects. If it, that's the other answer. So it's one of these 4, but it will also, if you go looking at those points, y equals -x, you can use the same formula of this, which is x comma y becomes -y comma -x. So it can do it in one motion. It just happens to be a coincidence, but it will work with either B, C, or D. So use this, kind of sketch where you're at, and kind of play with it. All right, if I make a rotation here, what does it look like? If I make a rotation here, if I go this way, if I reflect here, just try to play with it and see what you can get. Example 4. So I'm going to do 4. Number 4, check. This is for you guys. It's the same as, same basic problem, just a little different. So for this guy, it's telling us that angle ABD, so ABD and CBD are congruent. So these guys are congruent. Just do the little thing like that. It's not bisected. These are just congruent marks. Now these guys are 90-degree angles on both sides. And it says BAD. BAD over here is 58 degrees. Find CBD. So they're asking, what's this one? All right, but so let's see. All right, so they didn't tell us that. They didn't tell us the angles were congruent, these two. But if these two are congruent and these two are congruent because they're both 90 because of the third angle, so we're just going to write third angle theorem, angle, so BAD is congruent to angle BCD. All right, so if that one's 58, that one's 58. All right, so to find CBD, we're going to, so we take our triangle minus our 90-degree angle and then subtract the other angle that we know, which is 58. So 180 minus 90 is 90. 90 minus 58 is 32. So angle CBD is 32 degrees. So same thing down here. Your angles are congruent. You've got a box here, so that means there's a box there. Pretty simple stuff. Especially if you've been paying attention. All right, so let's go to the bottom. So practice we had, this said 1 through 13. I actually gave you 2 extra problems, so 1 through 15. Oops. Oops. All right, so summary. If 2 angles of one triangle are congruent to corresponding angles of a second triangle, then the third angle of the triangles are congruent. And then number 2 says if two triangles are congruent, what is the relationship between corresponding parts? So relationship of congruent, we got corresponding parts. I'll write this real big for you. CP, CT, C. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Again, those of y'all paying attention, at some point between now and the test on Module 5, I'm going to, one of your exit tickets is just going to be, tell me what CPCTC stands for. So, that's it for this particular video, just in case you guys are still hanging around, or the ones that you are listening. Let's give another... I'd rather have done the bonus word through the regular part of the video, but it's okay. So, yeah, so if you're still paying attention, send me a message in Focus or on Teams. We're going to use the word kites. So, example 4, check, it says kites. If you just send me that word in Focus or Teams, that's your bonus word for this particular video. Have a great night. I will see you next time. If you have not, please consider liking and subscribing. You students, bonus points if you subscribe. Do it on your phone. Take a screenshot, show it to me, and I'll give you the bonus points right then. Just maybe not during the lesson. Till next time, have a good night.